Hello and welcome to the review of the day, which is for E.C. Tubb's Extra Man. Not that this book specifically is the Extra Man. This is a rather nice, as you can see, Gateway Omnibus edition that I bought. It has 3 standalone stories from E.C. Tubb. And I bought it a while ago, and I don't really remember the circumstances, but I do remember buying it in a sense of frustration. So E.C. Tubb is the author of the Dummerest Saga, which has 33 books. I've been reading them since I was a teenager, off and on, and I've owned a couple of them for nearly that long. I have read all of them except the last 2. I have up to 31 on the shelf behind me, thereabouts, I think. Up to 31, The Temple of Truth, but 32, The Return, and 33, Child of Earth, I have never seen nor read. Very frustrating, been trying to get them for years. So one day I bought this thinking, E.C. Tubb, I should probably read others of his books. It's a rather nice edition, though it's got a lot to recommend it. I'm happy to have it. The Omnibus copyright is from 2013. The book that I have just finished is the first of the 3, and it's called The Extra Man, published in 1954. I believe that it was originally published under another name, Enterprise 117 or something like that, and I don't know how that came about, but The Extra Man is a title that works very well for the story. Anyhow, a little bit about Gateway SF itself, because this is a pretty cool book. As many of you know, I don't really like the larger books, but I'll make exceptions for some, and this is one of them. I really like what it says in the beginning, and I'm going to read it to you, because I haven't prepared for this video so much, so I'm relying on the book itself to carry it. Towards the end of 2011, in conjunction with the celebration of 50 years of coherent, continuous science fiction and fantasy publishing, Gollancz launched the SF Gateway. Over a decade after launching the landmark SF Masterworks series, we realized that the realities of commercial publishing are such that even the Masterworks could only ever scratch the surface of an author's career. Vast troves of classic SF and fantasy were almost certainly destined never again to see print. And so, the SF Gateway was designed to be the new home of classic science fiction, etc., etc. I won't read the whole thing. I feel like I could. I'm in the mood to read aloud, but I won't. So when I get my hands on this, I was actually quite happy with it. Each one of the 2 novels inside it has a brief description, and the Extra Man is described as frozen in space and preserved for 2 centuries until found and resurrected. By a miracle of science, Rosalind awoke to a civilization beyond his wildest imaginings. Which is fair enough, and true enough. One more thing about this book, you've got this really nice bibliography of E.C. Tubb's, because E.C. Tubb wrote under a lot of pseudonyms. Apparently, according to SF Encyclopedia, I think it is, he had over 130 novels and hundreds of short stories, and he used more than 50 pseudonyms just for his novels. It would be nearly impossible for anyone except someone really truly committed to get all of E.C. Tubb, I suspect. Now, I think I have read a couple of other stories of his, but I have mostly concentrated on the Dummerest Saga. Here you've got a whole heap of other pseudonyms: Arthur McLean, Brian Shaw, Carl Maddox, Volstead Gridban, King Lang, and there's just so much he wrote. So in The Extra Man, we start off with Carl Roslan, I think his first name is Carl. Anyway, he's in the desert staring out over the beauties of the desert and contemplating. This is E.C. Tubb at his most philosophical and his most, I'm going to say, purple prose. Now, in the Dummerest Saga, which is what I primarily know him for, he does get very, very descriptive of some of the planets. Some of the descriptions are absolutely gorgeous. And in this initial introduction to the story, The desert, as he describes it, again is gorgeous. We meet Rosalind, and we meet his best friend. The two at Comain. What's his first name? Can't remember. Something Comain. Anyhow, the two have been friends since childhood. They were fascinated by science and space travel, and both of them tried for the position of astronaut on the very first manned flight. So this was written in the early 50s, long before any of the manned flights happened. I believe before the manned flights happened. And a lot of what Tubb is writing about science is wildly speculative. The effect of vacuum on metals, for example, the effect of the vacuum and of acceleration on humans. There's a whole heap of really, really speculative science in this, and some of it's wrong, but all of it's quite respectable speculations, and it makes sense that people would have thought that way. So Rosalind goes up in the rocket. We find out that it's almost entirely automated, and it's almost entirely Comain's design. But when he gets up to the point, the rocket's meant to slingshot around the moon and use the gravitational force of the moon to send it back to Earth. It doesn't have enough fuel to get back to Earth on its own. Acceleration goes wrong. We know something's going to go wrong because we've already read the description of the story. But what happens is, instead of slingshotting, he can't reach the right wires to trigger the rocket burst early, and so he keeps on going into space. Almost certainly dead. Comain blames himself. Horrible, horrible, terrible, terrible. But we know he's going to be resurrected, and he is. We start with these two asteroid miners from the Martian colony, and they see something that registers as metallic, so they go to bring it in, but when they get there they find it's Rosalind's ship, and that there is a completely freeze-dried human inside it, and they bring it back to the Martian colony. Now, the Martian colony has been ordered to evacuate and return to Earth because in the 100 years since it's been founded, it's still not self-sustaining, and it never can be. Also, the Earth is in the grip of a very, very autocratic, I suppose, matriarchy. Control isn't complete, and the way they do that is by using this huge computer which has got total predictive powers. Now, as Rosalind confronts going back to Earth with the Martian colony, he finds out that every single person on Earth has been scanned by this supercomputer called Comain, and all predictions of everything that realistically important that could happen on Earth are produced by this supercomputer. So Rosalind goes, "Oh yes, Comain, we're mates." Not quite, but almost. And then he finds out that the scan means that everything that is known by any human is known by the computer. The Martian colony find a way to sneak him back to Earth. Their reasoning is they want to go back to Mars. They don't want to evacuate. They want to continue to live there. The matriarchy wants total control, and the Mars colony being out there is too random, too unpredictable for her to be able to control. So she wants them back on Earth, where they can be scanned by computer Comain and brought back into line with everything else. All good. But no one has ever scanned Rosalind. He's an unknown factor. He is the extra man. He is the one person on Earth who has never been scanned, is totally unpredictable, and can throw all predictions out just by existing. And as the story progresses and we hit Earth, then yes, indeed, Comain goes off and he does Rosalind goes off and he's doing these things, and he's throwing all their speculations out. A transport crashes with no probability known. Rosalind goes to the casino to win some money because that's about the only way he can earn a living. And he finds out at the casino that he not only can he slant the odds, but he seems to have picked up some extra sensory powers. He hypothesizes from all the free radiation in space that he hadn't been shielded against in this early flight. Now, it's an interesting thing that even though the computer is based on Command, this post-atomic war civilization seems to have no awareness of Rosalind's flight whatsoever. There's no record of it, and he is completely off the charts. That's a bit of a hole in the plot, but it's not a big one. Realistically speaking, this is a fast-paced, action-filled, fun space adventure type thing from the 50s. It has aged in a few poor ways. I'm going to spoiler those, I suppose, in a way. You can't really spoiler this, it's too old. It is what it is. And one of the things it is really, I'm sorry, more than a bit sexist. So, okay, early 50s, it is what it is, right? But on Mars, the Mars colony is led by a man, Dr. Lassiter, even though it's been untold generations since any but women occupied high roles. The matriarch is the sole ruler of Earth. Her assistant is another woman, the beautiful woman who of course will be acquired by our hero, because it is E.C. Tubb after all, and he does these things. Anyway, the Mars colony is led by a man, not a woman, which is inconsistent, I feel, with their societal expectations, that even though they are on Mars, you would expect a society to continue to replicate many of their underlying unspoken expectations. I would have expected a woman to be in charge, or at least mentioned in passing. No women appear to be on Mars, even though they've been there for 100 years. No, there are women, but they're not mentioned. The Doctor who's in charge of Mars makes the rather stunningly quaint statement that women aren't good at positions of control. Seriously, feminists, this book is not for you. Even I balked at that one a little bit. When we're back on Earth, we have a few throwaway statements that are more patriarchal than E.C. Tubb manages in most of his Dumras saga, which is saying a lot, such as, the reason that the matriarch was so old and bitter and angry was because she failed to fulfill the natural instincts, the natural urges of women, or something like that. By which, I assume, we mean getting together with a guy. Where is it? Her successor. Hang on, I can find this bit. She had a warped mind, a bitter mind, caused by her years of struggle and her blind denial of the normal needs of every woman ever born. Her successor will not be like that. So her successor is her 2IC, who's a beautiful young woman, who will fill the matriarchy, and her children and yours shall be the brand new world, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it was a bit annoying, but not too bad. Overall, I rate this as a book, not as a compendium, because I haven't read the other two yet, and it might be a while before I do. But I would rate it a nice, cozy 3.5 to 4 stars out of 5. The characters aren't too bad. The hypothesis and the plot are fun. The narrative is fast-moving and usually consistent. There's a fair amount of science, well delineated, and it's speculative in the best possible way. All the reasons why I like older classics SFF from the 50s and 60s are in this book. So yes, thoroughly enjoyed Extra Man by E.C. Tubb. We'll read the other ones, but not immediately. I think I need a bit of a palate cleanser from this style of writing. So thank you for watching an impromptu video, and see you next time. In the meantime, read good books, including, if you have him, E.C. Tubb, because while he may not be the best writer, and I know I've led a couple of people down to Earl Dumarest who didn't enjoy him. Sorry about that. I love them. He is a good writer in his own sphere. You just need to expect what you're going to get, which is a 50s author. Read good books.